I work in a little place called Wilcannia and helped the school and a couple of schools there, primary school and preschool, set up gardens. And we also set one outside the women's shelter and the health centre and the police station and anywhere else basically around town we could think of to set up food gardens. I've been working here only since the start of August, and the main idea of this garden, it's all two purposes. One is to provide somewhere where the students at Rotary Hall here can actually have the food supply. So it's the only self-catered college, residential college at the university. All the rest get their food cooked. The other point is experimental, is to just trial different ways of growing to try and get growing methods which are low maintenance, very low maintenance, if they've got to be in community areas. Can be costable, can be repeatable, can be easy for people to be able to construct and understand. The facility can be maintained on a local level. The beds behind you are all bokashi fed as their main fertiliser, which is produced from veggie scraps at one of the other residential colleges in quite large-scale bokashi composting. These wicking beds also don't have a gravel layer. They're different because we use the bokashi. We get away with using soil all the way down, and so they make them easier for people to set up. But that's also part of what I'm trying to develop here is garden beds that are low maintenance but also easy to set up and not complicated with different layers and different materials. But basically just put soft pipe in the ground and cover with dirt with these ones and pour your bokashi. And you can make the bokashi at home in your kitchen. You can get bokashi drums, so even on a home scale people can do that. The other thing with these sort of beds is they can be linked up one to another, which also in times when if you run a community garden and there aren't enough volunteers and you don't want to be out there every single day having to water plants to keep things alive if you're involved with a community garden, and it's hard getting volunteers at certain times. With this, the students go away on break, and so they can be up to 3 months where there's no one around much. And so this had to be set up to be able to go through those sort of periods with very little maintenance. So by connecting the beds in series, the whole garden will only have 3 or 4 watering points, and the water then will flow down into the garden beds, underneath, through into the other beds, and water the whole lot through just a few separate points. There's also going to be a few other experimental things built here. This is step 1 on the large plan. We're also trying to think of how we can get more food growing going in Townsville, starting from where we are now, and what steps would be the best way to do it to actually get it to happen. I mean, if I just go to the council and say, look, I'd like to get this park turned into a food forest or a community garden, I'm not going to get a great reception on my own, which is why there's certain steps that we need to go through if we do want to do this. And we do need to get the council involved at some stage, because some of the best places for large-scale community gardens in Townsville are park areas already. And if we can get the council to see that by turning parts of those into community gardens, it's giving the community something which they need and want, and also cutting their maintenance costs down to those park areas. We need someone at some stage to do some research exactly on how much different park areas are costing in maintenance to the council, and then try and work out what it would actually cost to run as a community garden area, and then also see by taking it over whether we can still get some ongoing funding from the council, either what they're already paying for maintaining that area or even slightly less, so the community garden has some funds coming from outside just to maybe pay for an administrator or to get events together, or just, there's so many different things that can come out of a community garden, so having that cash flow every year would be quite valuable. And then it's a win-win situation.
Brenton, too, I've been thinking about this, and I think that the previous attempts that we've had at community gardens, like the First Avenue site in the mid-90s, its location was not ideal.
Yeah.
The soil was not ideal, for one thing, and another thing was that it was too far away from everything.
Yeah.
And similarly with the Robertson Street site, it's a long way away from everybody. So you can't get there unless you've got a car.
Yeah.
So it's going to have to be more effective to have them closer to where there are larger numbers of people. Like here, you've got the garden and the people.
Yeah, yeah.
That's it, you walk there, it's right there.
There's a map here of